Careful, we're contagious, as today we look at Osmosis Jones. Hello everybody, welcome to Hold Up, the show where we dive deep inside your childhood nostalgia, find the movies from your past to see if they truly hold up. On today's episode, I am holed up with my two favorite humans, Kyle and Andrew.
We're your two favorites?
You gotta get to know more people.
Yeah, man.
We're disappointing.
We're pretty unextraordinary.
We're very pedantic, very
just negative, not worthwhile. We really suck the life out of you.
Okay, fine, you got me. It was satire. I did not actually think you were two of my favorite people.
I saw through your ruse. I knew.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to admit it.
I've been working on my ruses. Kyle, before we get started on our sickness today and our journey into the medical world, how's your energy level?
I'd say it's like a dog saliva on your pillow kind of feeling. We're not at dog shit today. I don't know if that's better or worse.
That seems like an improvement.
Well, you'd think, but then it's like, when you wake up in the middle of the night and your 90-pound German Shepherd is resting his head on your pillow and you turn across and you see a snout that goes right in your face and there's just drool hanging down on your pillow that you are putting your head on. That's where we're at. It doesn't smell, but it could, and it licks balls.
That just seems endearing to me.
I love that. I think you're doing well then.
I do too.
It seems like you're trending in the right direction.
That warmed my heart.
Yeah. We just watched with plenty of drool, saliva,
and bodily functions.
We watched
Jesus
Osmosis
Christ.
Jones. And that's it.
And that's the end of the episode. We'll
I
see
was-
you next time, folks.
I was really hoping and wishing and praying that I wasn't going to see that much Bill Murray, but it made me hate Bill Murray a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
I don't blame Bill Murray for it, but...
No, he did the best what he had, but still,
Yeah.
it's just the kind of things that happened were so gross. And this is three men who have lived in filth before.
Who work in film.
Work in filth, actively, saying that this is a nasty-ass movie. It is fucking gross.
Especially for a kid's movie, and for anybody who's not familiar, Osmosis Jones was released in 2001, I believe.
August 7th, 2001.
Oh, then Andrew
Yes.
knows his
I'll not
August 7th.
forget it, ever.
Well, you not.
I went to see it for my 9th birthday.
A lot of things to not forget in that year.
Had a little birthday party, a little slumber party afterwards. It was a grand night. And I was very excited to see Osmosis Jones.
I don't remember seeing this one in theaters, but I do remember I watched this movie when I was sick and had the flu. And
That's
Perfect.
Did you think you were
That
going to
is
die?
Perfect.
I thought that's what my body was doing to fend everything off, and I thought that that Chris Rock was in my body, just firing rounds off randomly into city streets, and that was the reason that I was getting better was Chris Rock. I remember watching that movie a lot as a kid, but in a condensed period of time. I feel like there was 6 months where I watched Osmosis Jones a lot.
Did you really?
Yeah, and we had it on VHS. I remember watching that movie a lot, and then just after that, I just never watched it again.
See,
so this was the first time I've seen it since I was 10.
This is the first time I've seen it since my 9th birthday.
Wow.
I think there's a reason I didn't watch it again.
There was no
But-
run it back.
No.
Didn't you think it was cool, though?
I did, absolutely.
Why did you want to see it so bad? Why is this such a burning hot memory for you? Why did you want to see it?
I just looked cool. Why does any 9-year-old want to see an animated movie? I probably didn't even know what the hell
What if
about.
the animated movie was about filing taxes?
I probably wouldn't have, put two and two together. I would have just seen animations. Ooh, let's go watch. I don't know. It was just something to do. It came out 2 weeks before my birthday, so why not go see the new release? Why do you want to go see a movie when you're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old? It's just something you would see a trailer.
The IRS children's movie, The Brave Little Stapler.
Brave little stapler. Ew. Get that out of here. That's
You're dumb when you're young. You're drawn to anything. So
It rhymes, it's true.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about your childhood memories from Osmosis Jones?
This is a rental. As most of these that we'll come to find out were, unless they were Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, it's probably.
So your family didn't have the VHS collection back in the day, right? Or was it like a select
It was not.
collection?
It was not. It was I'd say maybe 20 movies. So not really a collection.
Oh, so you were poor?
Yeah, for sure. Dirt poor.
Good for you.
What 20 movies were in there? I'm just curious.
Oof, that's a good question. Well, there's a whole thing of Disney movies, and I classify that as Disney different because it's all Disney.
Yeah.
So that's Lil White, Lil White, Lil White and the Seven Dwarfs. Snow White. There we go.
That was
Little White.
the German version.
It was Little White.
I actually mesmerized that this movie had the cast it had too.
They have a good
Pretty strong cast.
Yeah, like
Top to bottom.
Chris Rock, Lawrence Fishburne is
Great.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray,
Brandy.
And then you had
Brandy.
Ron Howard as the
For 2
senator.
seconds.
The guy who ran against the mayor.
He had the best scene in the movie too, which we'll get to. But
Wasn't Captain Kirk in this as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
William
William
Shatner.
Shatner.
Yeah.
Billy
with
Shatz.
with the perfect role for him.
Absolutely.
Great. Oh, great.
Like nothing spells sleazebag more than Shatner.
David Hyde Pierce as Drix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andrew, I know you got some facts for me on
I've
this.
got some.
Before we dive full on into this movie that was a disgusting mess, tell us
Gnarly.
what did this movie do box office wise?
Well, before we get into that, I want to put out the budget numbers for this. It was a cool $70 million for a big animated / non-animated
That's
feature.
a huge budget.
That's a
for
huge
the time for,
budget.
Like an
I
animated
think I do feel like they did some kind of motion capture with this, maybe like a preliminary, because that was right around the time that Lord of the Rings was coming out, and they were using that for a lot of the things, like the mannerisms that the villain Thrax,
Thrax.
Anthrax.
So right around that time.
It was a lot of his mannerisms were stuff that Lawrence Fishburne does in his movies, or something I could see him doing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the animation was just that good, but that might account for it, because I feel like isn't that expensive? It seems like it'd be pretty expensive.
Probably, especially for back then.
Back then, for sure.
So a cool $70 million was the budget. Domestic grossed $13.5 million.
total.
Yes.
Whoa.
But hey, there's also international, worldwide. Do y'all want to guess to see if they,
50 million.
I'm gonna say it's less than that. I'm gonna say 35.
14 million?
Holy shit.
Wow.
So they bombed. They didn't even come fucking close.
But how much of that budget went into this like all-star cast that they
That's why
probably didn't?
Probably a
even
lot
need?
of it.
Yeah.
But it bombed nonetheless.
David Hyde Pierce was doing Frasier at that time,
Yes,
right?
he was a big name.
Pretty big name. Chris
Chris Rock was still a
very big name.
Bill Murray probably was 40 million of that budget
Mm-hmm.
alone, knowing the asking price that he had at that point in time.
Very.
Because he wasn't in a lot of movies in the early 2000s.
No.
It seemed like he was kind of like
He was dropping off
cruise
the map.
control. For anyone who hasn't seen it, and for maybe people that have like a foggy memory, I do think that this movie was cool how it blended live action and animation.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
animation, to Kyle's point, was really well done
Very good.
in this
Yeah.
movie.
It was the
So-
best part of the movie, if
Yeah, I
we're
would
being
say so.
honest.
Yeah, I mean,
Easily.
which in the animation is 75-80% of it. I feel like that they basically take place in the body a lot.
Yeah.
And they use the live action to carry that. It was definitely a unique film. And I wanted to ask the question too. Do you guys remember very many movies that blended live action and animation?
Page
like
Master,
that?
but
Page
at
Master,
the
for
beginning.
sure.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
Did they do
That was going to be
Yeah.
one of my big ones.
Yeah.
Is that it did, but Who Framed Roger Rabbit on a different level blended it exactly together.
Yeah,
you
it
know, we
wasn't
didn't have the cut back,
cutbacks, yeah.
But Page Master for sure, and those were the two that I was thinking of. But I can't remember very
I'm
many.
sure we're
movies.
not thinking of one. I'm sure there's one in there that we're not thinking of.
Right, but I'm saying that there's not very many movies that go with this style, and I think it is a unique viewing experience, and it makes it very fun. And I feel like the movie clipped along
It
because
did
of that.
very well, yes.
Because I like looked up at the clock and I was like, "Oh, we're done. It's over. We're wrapping this up."
As always, though, I will say it could have been a little shorter. There were times I was like, this is taking too long. But it's not. It wasn't egregious. It was like, I would give it like maybe a 0.2 off for that.
I mean, it was 95 minutes. That's not that.
That's pretty
not that
quick.
long.
It's also
compared to what movies are
And
nowadays.
it is a kids movie, so a lot of
Yeah.
kids movies clock in at that hour 30 because they know kids' attention spans.
It's going to dwindle.
It is going to dwindle, but I do think it felt a little shorter than that hour and 30 minutes, whatever it was,
I agree
because
with
of the cutting back and forth and the different styles. Again, all-star cast. As an adult now, it was fun to see all these people come together in one weird off-the-wall movie.
Question:
Very weird.
The guy who played Uncle Bob, I have seen him a million
Oh,
times.
he's in a
Who
lot.
is he?
He's-
He's been in tons,
But
I
he
can't
was in
pinpoint it.
what was it? Along Came Polly. That was no. What was-
Chris Elliott's his name.
Chris Elliott, but he was French toast.
He was in
Fuck.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
There's
that's what I'm
something
thinking
about
of.
Mary.
There's something about Mary. That's what I'm thinking of.
But there's other things he's been in too. It's not just that. Oh, he's in Schitt's Creek. He is a rolling shit. That's who it is.
The fun fact too, this is done by the Farrelly brothers?
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, they did Dumb and
Yes.
Dumber and Something About Mary.
And
Yes.
Meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers. This comedy style really falls into their plate really well.
I will say, out of all of those movies, this is probably the least funny out of all of them, I would say.
Yeah.
Just crude potty humor. Kids movie, so it plays to kids.
There were some things that made me chuckle. There were some parts of it that I still found funny as an adult. Some things I didn't get either, but
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
are we ready to dive in?
Let's
Go for it.
get to it, man.
Let's get for it.
Let's dissect this. Hey.
That's a point off. Kyle, where does this movie begin? Lay the foundation.
We get right into Bill Murray and his daughter staring at a chimpanzee who's got its finger in its butthole. And Bill Murray drops an egg on the ground that he's about to eat, that before which pours like a whole packet of mayonnaise on it, and then an endless amount of salt while he has
Like
dialogue.
30 seconds of salt
Yes,
pouring.
it was like a bit. It was a bit that they were doing for sure, and that wasn't terribly funny. But then the chimp
takes it
from him, and then the battle ensues over the egg.
But the chimp also
in
ate
his
all
mouth.
the salt and the
licked
mayonnaise.
all of it off.
So the egg, honestly, is probably healthier now that it's gone through the chimp's mouth.
And if you
than it
consider
was.
that healthier,
I would say-
I don't know.
I don't think either one are healthy options.
I would say immediately healthy. No, longitudinally, yes, absolutely. Also, mayonnaise is egg.
Yes.
So you want to put egg on your
You're putting
egg?
whipped egg on egg.
I love mayo. I am white, but I can't really attest to putting that on an egg. But then he takes this egg that the chimp had in his mouth, and then it got out of his mouth, falls on the ground at a zoo.
Like straw, like pine straw and
where
other
there's
shit.
I don't know if you've ever been to the Cincinnati Zoo, but there's a shit ton of fucking peacocks that walk around there just shitting on the ground. He's likely picking up something that it's been in one animal, been in another animal's waste, and is now taking it back up. He picks it up and then eats the egg.
He claims that it was a 10-second rule.
10-second rule. He's fine.
But where did the 10-second rule start? When it was in the chimp's mouth?
He did
Or-
not take that into consideration.
He did not. That was more of a 48-minute rule
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. And it had nasty hair and fucking
Just
like
dirt.
detritus on it.
He didn't even blow it off.
He didn't even bother, and he just goes for it, like happily.
Shoves
and that's
it.
when
Shoves it whole.
No, the whole thing in his mouth. And I think at that point I realized this is going to be a rough ride. This is going to be disgusting because I remembered some things, and I remembered the zit, and then I was like, I'm going to be missing some things here. So that's when we get the first glimpse into the animation.
This is just the catalyst for basically the whole movie. If he doesn't eat this egg, none of this movie happens.
What came first, the sickness or the egg?
I mean, in this case, the egg.
The egg, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We answered a lot of questions here.
No, he was hanging around in that egg.
So we get the first glimpse into the animation world as the white blood cells, which we're introduced to Chris Rock,
They're
are
patrolling.
the egg.
Food
basically.
item.
Yeah. So
Patrolling it for
germs.
foreign
Germ
bacteria and
warfare.
germs, which I'm sure is
Which is kind of, I guess, what white blood cells do, in a sense.
not like that. They're in your blood. They're not
Yeah.
they're not just in your mouth.
No.
But the dumbed down medical
Yeah, absolutely.
education for children here, because you are still learning what white blood cells do. I thought it's
can't
very
get too
imaginative.
complex.
For a kid's mind, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and to make it entertaining, obviously the goal is to be entertaining, but they're looking for these germs, and it's disgusting animation. You see all the like
Mucus and green goop and food, and there's fumes that you can't smell, but you see they're personified in a sense.
gingivitis. They
Yeah.
mentioned that there's gingivitis, and we're getting the early glimpse that Bill Murray may not be the healthiest person.
You're in, what's his name? His name is not Jack. Frank. You're in Frank's mouth.
Frank's mouth.
Frank.
Obviously, it's going to be a little disgusting. The mouth is already disgusting, but he takes it to a different
They
level.
treat the whole body as a city, as a giant city.
The animation on the inside of the body is all personified, in a sense.
The body is a city, and it is politically run throughout. And it's also, this body happens to be completely out of shape, disgusting with its hygiene, and diet is leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
Very questionable.
Very questionable. Like egg off the ground immediately. 30
Makes you
seconds
question
into the
why this man even has a child to
It
begin
makes
with.
it makes you question why this man's still alive.
Live.
Yeah, the kind of things that he is putting in his body, folks, is nasty.
The white blood cells find some germs from the egg, and they start chasing them in like a helicopter.
They get him on the freeway too. They escape, if you will. At that point, Osmosis Jones, who is the main cop, the main white blood cell, gets a little cocky and is like, you know what? I'm going to just get out of this cop car and try to fight them on my own. And he gets a warning from the police commissioner.
He starts firing randomly into the city, and he
Yes.
hits a transformer,
Which is like the nerve receptor
yeah,
or something.
which is a nerve receptor, which causes this massive cramp.
like on his thigh.
And the acting that Bill Murray does on this cramp is the worst acting I've ever seen.
I thought it was serviceable.
I know it was like a kid's movie, but come on,
Yeah,
Bill. We've seen
It was
better.
way too much ham. It was
Yeah.
too much.
The non-animated world was just so half-assed in every aspect.
Yeah.
In every
Just-
aspect.
it didn't really do it for me.
It didn't do it for me. It
Yeah.
just wasn't thought out. There was nothing like
It
logical
looked
or
like they
creative about it.
shot it all in a matter of 2 days.
They literally
All-
they half-assed it. It was a lazy fucking approach.
It was
Excuse my
one. It
expression,
was
but-
basically one location, which is this zoo that he works at. His
the
daughter's
zoo, his
there.
house, or the school.
Yeah, and all of that could be changed over on
you could do
one
that.
sound
Oh my
stage.
God, you could do that. I didn't even need to sound stage. You could just shoot it on location. That'd be easy to shoot over the course of a week, and
Yeah.
you'd be.
They put all the money and effort into the animation, which, in my opinion, did pay off. But the non-animated stuff, the live action, just trash.
While Bill Murray goes down with this cramp, we're starting to learn a little bit that his daughter is more health conscious and she wants him to live forever.
A little too health conscious for a 9-year-old or something like
Yeah,
that.
I call bullshit on
Yeah.
that. Like she's making a doctor's appointment for him,
Telling him he
and, like,
can't wear certain types of deodorant because it causes cancer. Like, no 9-year-old knows about that
No,
shit.
no.
None.
She was very
Motherly.
yeah. and it
weird
was-
in a weird way. I found.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was very odd.
to be fair, too, he is like laying on the couch with a cramp and eating chicken leg.
KFC.
Yeah, KFC.
Leg. Oh my god.
Leg.
Then we're introduced to the mayor at that point, right? Because Osmosis Jones gets written up by the police chief.
But then he
for-
gives him another project, doesn't he?
Give
Another
him-
Yeah,
assignment.
because he
But-
tricks me. He's like, "What was I doing? You were giving me a promotion." "Oh, that's right. I was giving you a promotion.
Yeah, it just really like used his Jedi mind tricks on him. But I think we introduced to the mayor first, which is William Shatner, who actually had, I think, the best role in this whole movie.
He did great.
He was
What
one
does
of the best.
But what does he do bad in? You know, Willie Schatz is
Well, as
just the
long as he
best.
plays an asshole, which is, I guess, intuitive to his own life because he is an asshole. But like he does really well at playing those characters. So an asshole, sleazy mayor, just William Shatner just nails that role.
Greedy politician.
And he does like a really good voice acting.
Does a great
Very
job.
Because he did a lot of voice acting after this, and I think this kind of was some of the stuff that took off for him.
It was a success for him. It was a success for William Shatner
Yeah.
in that sense.
It's a re-election season, right? It's a election year in Frank's body.
All he's worried about is how he can procure more votes and whatnot.
He doesn't care about the health of the body or the citizens, which
I guess it's
Wow.
Sounds
the
about
mayor's
right.
Yeah,
responsibility, but
right.
That
So-
tracks. That's on point.
Yeah, we see the best clip in the entire movie, in my opinion. He looks over and he watches the guy that's running against him, the senator, I guess. And the senator's like talking about how he's strolling through these dirty streets. He's like, he doesn't care about Frank. He doesn't want to clean up our streets. And
It was Tommy Kalanick, wasn't
yeah,
it?
Tommy Kalanick,
and
yeah.
it was Ron Howard. And Ron Howard, like, looking at this kid who walks up out of nowhere and he goes, "What's that smell?" And he's like, "It's the smell of change." And he just snaps
Snap
the
the
kid's
kid's
neck. He turns it a complete 180 degree and it says "Vote for me" on it. That was amazing.
it was a beautiful political campaign ad.
Yeah, it
was
was
great.
From
Yeah.
inside a body.
yeah. Frank's daughter's trying to make a doctor's appointment as they're looking through the eyeballs and seeing this happen. And he's like, no, we can't go to the doctor. That'll cost me my votes.
Because he has what now? A sore throat?
Right.
Yeah.
And so he overrides the system, which I didn't know your body does this. So your brain
You
just...
didn't know that, Chase?
Yeah, I didn't.
We should get another episode into this.
So your nerve cells can just talk for you and make decisions based on your political standing in your own body.
Beautiful.
But William Shatner takes the override key. He's not supposed to do it. And he tells the little girl through Bill Murray, oh, no, just give me a cold pill.
Some Drixenol to be.
I'll just take a cold pill. And then that's when Bill Murray takes the cold medication, and that's where Osmosis Jones' assignment comes. Is he's got to go escort the cold pill around
From the stomach. He picks him up at the brinks of the stomach.
which I thought was cool that the stomach was like an airport.
Yeah,
or
that
like a train station
Yeah,
or
it's like a
something
shuttle.
like that.
Yeah, it's like
We're going to shuttle you all right.
right. And so it's like
They had really cool ways, like I said, of personifying the inside of the
Which
body.
I enjoyed a lot of those correlations that they made. I thought they were fun.
which as he's going to get Drixel, right? Is that the name?
Drixenol.
It's
But he called him
Drixenol.
Drix.
Drix.
They called him
Drips. He kept calling him Drips.
So as he's going to get him, there is a sign, a billboard that says "Come SeaWorld," and it's SeaWorld, SEE World, and it's the eyes, and it's an amusement park for the eyes.
Ew.
It was supposed to be in the movie. I don't know if they created it or not, or left it on the cutting room floor. But I do want to see the scene where they're in an amusement park called SeaWorld, and it's based on the eyes. I can't imagine how disgusting that would have been.
I wonder what they put in that made them, because I'm sure it was something that they saw in the world or the amusement park.
I just imagine it was they cut it for time. Because there's nothing in here that's not too, like that.
Unless they got political with SeaWorld, because there is an element there.
There is. I wonder if there was like some worms in Bill Murray's eyes.
Swimmers.
Or something. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And how they treated him poorly or something like that.
But there was a part of me that really wanted to see that get.
Yeah.
So they did make a TV show, but if we ever get a sequel or if this happened in the TV show, someone let us know. But I want to see that amusement park. But picks up the big pill. He looks like a Terminator. And
Terminator with like mixed as like a superhero.
yes.
Who has a like giant like cannon of an arm in which, he shoots out
like
his cold
pills and
remedy
shit,
or whatever.
yeah. And so he's like, I'm here to save the day, and everyone's falling in love with him. And Osmosis Jones feels like slighted a little bit by this guy's appearance, and
Because it's his job essentially just to escort the pill to the throat.
yeah, so he's escorting the hero, and Osmosis Jones wants so badly to be the hero. Their first stop is the throat, as Andrew says. It's just a simple sore throat, and they're clearing that off. And in the meantime, where the egg came into play, they're cleaning up the rest of the egg, the rest of the white blood cells, this like janitorial crew. And then that's when we meet our villain here, which is oddly, what was his name?
Thrax.
So Thrax shows up, and what a cool villain
He's
this guy
creepy.
was.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like how he was animated. Very sharp, angular. The eyes were really well done.
The nails or the claws that he
Yeah,
had.
he looked like a Spawn character.
He did look like Spot. He did.
Yeah, and he had the big red nail, and he was like basically
Touched anything, it would
infection.
burn or
burn,
die.
give everything a fever.
Careful, I'm contagious.
Yes, that was stupid. That was a dumb line. Oh, there was a line too that I wanted to bring up that I can't remember where it was, so we'll just drop it here. But there was this one got me where the police are sitting there. I think it's early on in the movie. But he's like, you got any big plans this weekend?
Oh, yes.
And he's like, yeah, me and my girlfriend are going to the kidneys to see the stones. He was like, yeah, well, you need to go see them now before they pass. I was like, oh, what a relevant joke.
That's fun, but that would be lost on kids though.
Yeah,
that's for the adults.
but I think that was the joke that's put in there for the adult.
Because there was definitely some adult humor.
yeah,
for
some adult
sure.
themes. Yeah.
We introduced the villain. He's just laying waste to the area in the mouth, and Osmosis Jones and the pill are working on the sore throat. Osmosis Jones runs into another germ that calls him what? He calls the main villain.
He said it in Spanish. Something muerto. It was-
El Muerte Rojo.
yeah, Red
so
Death.
the Red Death, yeah. Osmosis Jones does not speak Spanish, so he doesn't know. So he has to go to the brain and talk to the brain center to see what that means. He's like, well, we don't have much Spanish up here, but we have a bunch of sports statistics.
Accurate for someone like
good.
Frank.
Osmosis Jones is the only one that's like, I think there's something worse than just a common cold here.
But he couldn't talk to that little germ because Drix froze him or whatever with his cold remedy.
Yeah, and basically couldn't thaw him. And then they
Incapacitated
wore him
him.
as a hat.
Yes.
Yeah, he did at some point when they were in the
When he
Zip
went to
Club.
the club or whatever. But we'll
Zip
get
Club.
there.
So, Andrew, what is Thrax doing? What's his big plan?
He wants to get involved with the underworld of the body. He just wants some power, and he wants Vessel to use that power. So he goes, to the armpit?
Yeah.
And he talks to
The sweat glands.
who are just like a bunch of like New York, like Brooklyn, like
It was
thugs,
it was the Godfather.
gangsters. Yeah, it was
was the Godfather.
a little more like modern, more like Sopranos.
Yeah, but this little.
He did
chin-
do that
little
thing,
chin.
and he did kind of speak like
Don
Vito Corleone.
Oh,
But
sorry, Vito Corleone.
but the other dudes, the other grunts, they were just like classic, like street, like New York street, like gangsters, like
Yeah.
more of the Italian descent in that regard.
I mean, it's very stereotyped.
But he employs them by killing the main mafia
Godfather,
boss. Just
yeah.
like, cuts him in half and kicks him down a drain or whatever.
And his big plan too is like I think he mentions it at this point is to kill Frank in record time.
Yes.
But I was like, wouldn't that kill him as well?
It's a fictional movie.
Wait, what?
Kyle, did you know that? I thought it was a documentary
I thought it was too.
Wait, really?
on William Shatner's life.
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that.
They leave there, and then where does Osmosis and Big Drill or whatever his name is?
Well, they go back to the police station, and he gets reprimanded because he made Frank sneeze by carelessly throwing back of like piece of pollen in his throat, which then like broke the mucus barrier and gave him like a stuffy nose in real life, or a
had
stuffy
a
and like runny nose in real life.
nasty, disgusting running nose that he just went
Snot bubble that just
and he did this because he saw Thrax.
Yes.
He saw Thrax, so he was trying to catch Thrax.
it was
So
good
this
intention.
is when this is when they first meet, and Osmosis Jones is the only one that saw him.
He gets reprimanded, gets kicked off the force, leaves in a tizzy, throws a fit, and then I guess Drix comes out to comfort him or something like that. I don't remember. Help me here.
And he talks Drix into coming along with him as they go rogue this time to find the true virus, because Drix says something of like, "Oh, if you read my label, it says I have to get rid of all the symptoms."
They told him that
24
and,
hours.
and then at this point, I'm like, he is a cold pill.
Yeah.
He's already dissolved and done with.
Yeah,
he's not going to
he's
stop
entered the
anything
blend-
like that.
yeah.
And that's what the police chief and mayor essentially said to him. That's why he left with Osmosis, I think. He was going to escort him out of the stomach or out of the body or whatever. And on their ride over there, they had a little heart-to-heart talking about Osmosis' past. He got in trouble. Oh, this is a big part right here. He got in trouble because back in the day, Frank ate some oysters
Yeah, that's right.
that made him sick. So we're gonna transition back out to the real world, where we're at his daughter Shane's science fair. They're at this science fair, and they show her exhibit or whatever. It's just a fucking volcano, like you've seen it before. Just a stereotypical
Dumb volcano.
just really stupid.
What is it? Vinegar and baking soda, and then it goes boom.
Yeah.
Or
And,
sorry, it dribbles.
and this is literally the girl that's over here knowing everything about the medical field.
Seeming bright beyond her years.
And she's over there making a volcano. as her
But
sign.
Frank, being the kind of empty-headed dumbass that he is, wanders around and he stumbles upon this oyster exhibit of this other 9-10-year-old kid, a boy. I didn't really even paying attention to what the kid said, if you want to fill in the blanks here, but it was something about...
Frank basically ate a egg that almost came from a monkey's asshole. So at this point, anything that's not nailed down is going into his mouth.
This kid somehow collected oysters from the river basin or whatever local water source. They lived on the ocean, it seemed. They were like at a marina at one point. His experiment or science project was cleaning oysters, and he just asked to try one. And the kid said something stupid. He asked him if it was safe to eat, and he was like, "If my hypotenuse is correct." He literally said that, not hypothesis, but hypotenuse. And
Andrew, what is a hypotenuse?
it's something with geometry. I don't
Good job. Yeah,
fucking know.
So Frank confusing himself for being at a TGI Fridays goes
Or
and
a
eats this oyster.
Golden Corral. He just grabs an oyster and eats it and doesn't like the taste and hands him back the shell and walks away. And then he gets stopped by Molly Shannon, the principal. And they have a conversation about how the kid at the Oyster Project is...
And Molly Shannon, boy, she is smitten over Frank at this point.
She fell for him pretty quickly.
Instantly, because he says one non-joke,
don't
and she like laughed,
She
like
cackled. But then she goes on a tangent about how the kid at the Oyster Project is like stupid and slow. She literally calls him slow.
Yeah, that didn't hold up.
It didn't hold up at all. Because Gretchen was with me and she was like, oh, why was that necessary? I was like, I don't know, it was 2001.
Yeah,
my
but
friend
we
here, he's a
also,
little
I glossed
slow.
over that too really fast until I was like, wait a minute. But I think blank check killed my nerve endings.
We're numb to this shit. But anyways, they're having a conversation about how great his daughter is, yada, yada, yada. And he starts to get sick.
What kind of sick?
Like projectile vomiting sick. We have to go back into the body at this point because another unwanted germ that looked kind of evil and malignant, if you will, had entered his body.
Stomach virus, yeah.
Yeah, stomach virus, but it was quick acting. And Osmosis was like, shit, what do we do? What do we do? So he hits the eject button that forces Frank to vomit on the spot.
Yeah.
And he vomits all over the principal,
Molly
all over
Shannon,
Molly
the only
Shannon.
woman that would ever love him in this world.
He gets ridiculed by the local newspapers.
He got fired.
He got
from
ridiculed
his
by Tom
job
Brokaw and CNN. He got fired from his Pea Factory job.
because he
Pea
threw
Soup
up
Factory?
on
Yes, there we go.
somebody.
Because he threw up on someone. It was a national headline. Again, this is what I'm talking about with the live action writing. Like, why the fuck did they? Like, what was their
fired from
I
his job?
I understand where they're going with it.
I don't understand this. You can be clever and stupid, but this was not clever. It was just stupid.
It wasn't written correctly.
No,
like,
it was just
the
dumb.
The idea behind it is funny. You messed up so bad it's on national television. What they should have done is they should have had a news crew there on the spot and then been like, "What do you think about the Oyster Project?" And he's like, "The oyster," and then it becomes. Because that would happen today. But that never happened. It's just like word of mouth.
Here's the deal. If you're going to do something with animation that is based in fact and science within the body that reads as true, I don't think you can have that real world other Pan that is just like whimsical and stupid and not even logical.
So you would have preferred to see more of a dichotomy between the two?
Yeah, I think what happened in the inside was believable and real. Granted, it was animated and it was a little out there, but that was much more believable than what happened on the real world.
I won't disagree with you, but I do go back to I think that would have been a very funny bit had they
had made it believable.
A couple things in there that made sense for it to be national headlines.
We're at the point now where believable's not there, but I think it's fucking hilarious. He got fired from his job because he threw up on somebody outside of
From
work.
the Pea Soup Factory. He worked at a Pea Soup Factory.
This is dumb. He couldn't have been making that much.
It's
They
just
said he took a 95% pay to go to the zoo.
So they don't pay him anything. He's a volunteer.
I think what just bothers me is they put so much effort in being clever about the animated portion inside the body, and they didn't put any effort on the outside.
That's true. I mean,
That's fucking annoying.
it is very true, and that leads to the overall plot here, where the teacher has a restraining order on him at this point. She's a teacher. She gets thrown up on all the time.
Yeah, but also, how can you get a restraining order for that? That's what I was curious about. I feel like it has to be worth time to go to a judge and be like, are they stalking you? No. Have they threatened you? No. Are they causing your life any kind of discomfort? Well, they threw up on me once.
This creates the tension between him and his daughter because his daughter wants to go on this hiking trip, and her teacher is going to be there. And Frank is obviously nervous and doesn't want to go because the teacher will be there. Also, legally, don't think he can if there's a restraining order.
No, correct.
We go back, after that vomit scene, we go back into the body, and it's Drix and Osmosis in the car. Osmosis is spilling his guts out, and Drix feels sorry for him. He's like, okay, so this guy's maybe not that bright, but he has a good heart. I'm going to stick with him, and I'm going to see through, because Osmosis is going on and on and on about how there was something more evil and more malignant that they missed in the throat, aka Thrax, and that's when they start to team up and try to fight this dude.
So now they're in the car. They've communicated. They're starting to form this bond.
They go to the intestines to talk to someone about what they might have heard. Isn't that right? They find some goons in the streets, and they figure out by talking to that former virus that is now a flu virus, but it's a dormant virus. He tells them that the think tank, the gangsters are meeting up at the Zit. And that's when they go to the Zit.
Yes, so
I don't know why they went down to the colon or whatever. It escaped me.
There,
but they
there was
do.
a lot of running around in the middle of this that didn't make any sense to me, but So they go to this zit that's forming on Frank's
forehead.
At the same time that they're going there, Frank goes to the school to try to talk some sense into the teacher and being like, hey, she really wants to go on this hiking trip.
And this is where the restraining order and shit is brought to the forefront.
He's like, can you drop the restraining order for this weekend so I can go and be with her? And the teacher is just beside herself, like someone who is just blinded with rage. She has been like...
hates him.
Like,
so much that the students, when they start looking outside, she immediately, and one of the
violently,
one of the funniest moments in the movie goes, what does she say? Turn around, get back to work.
It was something like, shut up and get back to work. And she like hit her hand on the window of the door as hard as she could.
So out of the blue.
Chaotic.
It was so funny, though.
It was funny.
Which explains the cackling earlier. Frank dodged a bullet here.
It was vintage Molly Shannon.
Vintage.
Very good Molly Shannon.
As he's trying to talk with her, they get to the zit, right?
They're in the zit. It's a club.
It's a club.
You got Kid Rock, you got Uncle Cracker who are DJing and
the zit
performing.
In Frank's body is a club. And I know Kid Rock signed up for this, but I think it is very true that if Kid Rock was a cell, he would be playing in a zit. Because his music fits right in there with all the pus and
Grease.
everything.
Uncle Cracker, too, if we're being honest.
Right.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
And those two were huge at this point in time.
Very
in 2001.
Still
yeah.
huge.
Big.
Still revered.
Shouldn't be. But in 2001, they were...
Lots happened.
They were at the peak.
Yeah, they were at their peak. Kid Rock had that. What song came out? American Badass or something like that.
He's so hard. What a hard life he lives.
He's
such a hard.
Basically, what happens there, Andrew?
Osmosis crashes this meeting of all the gangsters that Thrax is spearheading, and he changes his appearance. He like stretches his body, slicks back his hair, creates dreads for himself.
Which, before you even continue, this club looks like it's been there for a very long time. But it just showed up on Frank's forehead no more than 12 hours prior.
Yeah.
This is a brand new club. This should be spick and span.
It's like a pop-up club, what they market it as.
A pop-up club. But but Kid Rock has dirtied up something awful in a matter of 12 hours.
Oof. Again, no surprise.
No surprise. But he infiltrates this meeting and he finds out that Thrax is going for the hypothalamus so he can give Frank a crazy high fever and extract some DNA from him or whatever and effectively kill him, essentially.
And he has this necklace of DNA that he's
taken
collected,
from all his victims.
Which I don't know how he would survive too.
At this point in the movie, Frank has come into contact with how many people physically and had bodily excretions on them and high-fived them after blowing his nose?
A couple at least.
So he is omnipresent. This is happening in other universes, and this universe happening in different people at this point.
Yes. So, and then, as luck would have it, they blow the place up because Osmosis Jones gets into basically altercation, with the villain.
He does his job poorly again.
He somehow falls from his chair forward, and his gun and badge or whatever he had or something like that.
Which he turned his badge in earlier, so I don't know how his badge fell out of it. Unless he went back to the police station after hours and grabbed it.
That might be wrong. We might have said that incorrectly at that point.
I know. I remember him putting his badge on the desk.
He did do that, but I don't know if it was before or after this, now that we say that.
I think it was the catalyst to start the fight. So
and then the zit blows right as Frank is talking to the teacher.
He was sweet talking her. She was listening to him at that point. He had gotten his way in. She was hearing his side, and the zit explodes and lands on the bottom of her lip.
Disgusting. So
disgusting.
Nasty.
And then there's just a crater in fucking Frank's forehead.
Is that how zits work? Does that anybody happen to?
And they quickly disappear within a matter of minutes too.
Yes. Yeah, especially massive ones with craters like that.
So she ends up saying no and yells at him. She's embarrassed again. I'm sure he's getting fired from the zoo next weekend. And
rightfully so.
But he also violated a restraining order, so she could also...
She could put him in jail.
Yeah, and I don't know why she didn't.
Yeah.
Speeding it up here, because I don't recall much after that. I think it's there's not a whole lot that happens. The mayor's doing his shit at the same time, where he's
being sleazy,
corrupt,
trying to hide this virus. from everybody. He's not taking it seriously. And then we get the fever, right? Like,
because he gets to the brain, he gets to the hypothalamus.
so they were not able to stop Thrax. Thrax gets the hypothalamus and
Takes the DNA
and causes a massive fever.
Massive,
Like,
giant.
was it get up to 107?
108.
108.
And that's what kills him.
Yeah. So he's driving along with his brother, right? Is it his brother or his
Uncle
cousin?
Bob.
Uncle Bob.
It's I don't. Weird dude.
Very weird.
Weird
That
dude,
kid
and
is straight.
I want to make note of this because it really was awkward. Again, we're a little numb to some weird things. When Thrax was hiding in the brain because the police did converge on him and he was cornered, he started going to different corners of the brain. He went into the subconscious or whatever it was. What was it called? The name they gave it?
Well, that was in the movie. You're talking about the movie theater?
Yeah.
Yes, and the posters they had in the background.
The posters
were fucking weird.
There was one. It was like Worst Nightmares.
Nightmare.
There was a picture of his daughter Shane marrying Uncle Bob.
like her and like the
Oh,
veil
I
and
missed
everything.
that.
And like a
It
veil. He was in
dude,
a tux. She was in a veil. It was
I'm
very
surprised
odd.
you missed that because that to me was like
it wasn't subconscious. What was the name
I don't
of
remember.
it?
I don't remember the name of it. This was clipping on.
It was one of the corridors of the brain.
Yeah, and but I remember the brain because it was like a movie theater, and it's like showing his like nightmares
Yes.
and like why he's sleeping.
Yes, that's what that. But like and like the different.
I guess I
posters that
just
were up
missed
there,
the poster.
That was just it was one on the very right hand side. So like we read left to right. You'd hit the other ones first. Like math. I forgot the study for the math test. I woke up in my pants. Or I woke up without pants on. I don't remember.
Something like that. You know, the classic stereotype.
which I think is what they were showing.
Yes,
too.
but then that one was all the way over in the corner, and they were like in and out of frame where that was in the background, so you couldn't see it the whole time. I don't think, and it was weird.
Gretchen wasn't watching it with me, but she did peek over and she saw that. She goes, "That's odd. That's really offsetting." I was like, "Yeah, that is off-putting."
Erica was like, "That's." She had a look on her face, and she said, "That's weird."
yeah.
Very.
And Uncle Bob, he's kind of really trashy, sleazy, kind of redneckish a little bit.
But also maybe watched too many concerts of the Grateful Dead as well.
Yeah. Also, maybe have lived under power lines for way too long.
Probably also eats garbage.
They're driving along.
They're going to Buffalo for a wing festival,
Yeah,
mind
so
you.
that he was trying to get his daughter to go. Hey, instead of going on your hiking trip, why don't we go to the Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York?
She's like, Buffalo?
There's like 98 different styles of wings and 128 dipping sauces. That's too many
a
combinations.
9-year-old girl is certainly going to love that. But
Right. She's going on the hiking trip. He can't go now because he blew his zit onto her teacher who has a restraining order on
So
him.
she's going by herself for this little camping excursion. He's on the road to Buffalo with Bob, and then he's starting to lose consciousness.
Which any 108-degree temperature would do to a human being.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do many things effectively.
You wouldn't be able to drive, that's for fucking
Yeah,
sure.
but so he drove a lot better than we thought he would. So he basically collapses. Bob is about to take him to the hospital, and at the same time, his daughter's bus is passing by.
There's an
sees
important
him.
little scene in that bus that we should touch upon. It's a huge...
The eyelashes.
Yes, the
Oh,
eyelashes. They just pan to the bus because the bus and the car cross paths, and then they pan to the bus, and it's just Shane sitting in the little chair by herself, and some girl turns around and she goes, "You want to put some falsies on?
Yep.
They'll look good on you, sure." And she takes one, and while the vehicle is moving, just pins it on her eyelash.
Just perfectly.
Horribly.
Yeah.
Just-
Perfectly by meaning that we mean horribly.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the car, and at this point, he is essentially passed out, and they pulled over or whatever.
Pretty much dead
Yeah.
at this point with the 108-degree fever.
But we should talk about what's happening in the body for a second, correct?
Yeah, so now the fever's hit, and
Thrax is
basically
trying to make his escape.
Thrax is trying to make his escape, but the whole body is just on fire. Like the whole
imploding.
the whole city,
Crumbling.
the whole city of Frank is just burning. It is
Armageddon.
apocalyptic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. The mayor's sitting there watching, and he's like, "Oh, I'm losing votes." I was like, "Yeah, you're losing votes. Everyone's dying. Like, no one's left to vote for you. Everyone thinks they're doomed." What happens next, Kyle?
Essentially get Osmosis or Ozzy fighting with Thrax. And it's the culmination of the movie, and all of a sudden it turns into a kung fu movie at the very end. Like, very well done.
Yeah,
very good action
I was waning a little bit at this point in time, but then they caught me back up with the kung fu,
Yes.
little Bruce Lee action here.
I love that part. I thought it was really well done. we get into a battle that extends out onto the eyelash of the daughter, because that's where he's trying to infect next. He's trying to kill the daughter. He's trying to keep it in the family.
He gets shot out by the uvula because he kept that little bead of pollen or whatever through the back of his throat. Yep. He coughs and he gets shot out.
So he coughs this virus all over his daughter's face, and Osmosis goes after him, and they both land in the eye of this little girl. They fight out on the fake lash.
And they can tell it's a fake lash by just how it feels, by punching it a few times.
Yep, they know.
Oh, this is plastic. We know. Yeah. We're cells.
The culmination of Thrax's life is pretty horrific, but good.
Pretty great.
He's a piece of shit.
What happens?
But he's
horrifying.
Fighting out on the eyelash, and they're fighting, and he gets his sharp little claw out to stab Osmosis, who is laying down on said eyelash, stabs him. He's dead now. But trick's on you. I moved my stomach out of the way just in the nick of time, and you're actually stuck in the eyelash now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he splits himself down the middle, up his face from his waist, and goofily runs away.
He is a white blood cell.
He's a white blood cell.
He can shape and mold and do all those things.
So he then falls into the solution of alcohol and water, I think, and he just dissolves. It's pretty horrific.
Because the fake eyelash just fell off.
I mean,
while she was crying.
Into the alcohol. Which also, they should not have let her in this emergency room that.
They should not have. They did remove her, but then she came back and shrugged off two grown adults who had her by the arm. This kid who probably weighed 80 pounds.
And they're trying to pronounce her dad dead at this point.
They're like, can you get out? We're trying to your dad's dead. Go.
That doctor wasn't believable either. I didn't believe he was a doctor.
None of the medical team, they're like, oh no, she's back. No, oh my God, time of death. And then they're like, looking, they're trying to do it. And then Osmosis, as Thrax fell into the alcohol, grabbed the streak of pearl or whatever it is. And I
guess it's DNA.
I guess. And then she starts crying over her dad, and he's able to jump on one of the water droplets, tears, falls all the way back into her dad's mouth.
Good. So wasn't it great that they created that scene in that bus, that exposition of giving her the fake eyelash to allow Osmosis and Thrax to fight it out, only to land back in his mouth? That's some beautiful screenwriting right there. I love it.
Long-term storytelling.
Yeah, just really out of the box.
In the last 20 minutes of the movie. So she falls in. Osmosis obviously saves the day. Frank comes back. The doctors are dumbfounded. They embrace. And then we finish the movie with Bill Murray making a life change.
He's driving a gator up the side of a trail.
And then climbing up a few rocks at the end.
And then trying to go, I didn't think I'd break a sweat on this workout. And he fucking eats a carrot.
But then farts.
Oh, well, I'm happy you brought that up, because this leads me into 2 points.
Captain Kirk.
The first of all, yes,
Mayor Fleming,
who is William Shatner. He's now degraded to working around the anus area, and there's a button that says "Do not push," and he goes, "Oh, I wonder what this button does." And he pushes the button and kills himself.
Gets farted out.
He gets farted out, which is such an industrial accident to end with somebody's life with.
The best way that a William Shatner character could
absolutely
be killed. So A+ for that.
So
another
funny.
5 points.
And then also bringing me to the point, if this for some reason was made as a live action instead of a cartoon, it would have been rated PG-13 or R.
For sure.
Just because of the amount of quote unquote people who are living in the body, these entities that are supposed to be sentient, they just get murdered, blown up, cut in half, dissolved, and they see it on fire, and you see it, it's so kids movie, yes, gross kids movie, I would say pretty nasty, pretty disgusting movie.
It was more disgusting than I remember. I knew that there was going to be a level to it, but it even exceeded that from my memory. Especially Kid Rock. Once you have Kid Rock in there, it's a level of disgusting that can't be unseen.
Earlier in the movie, when he opened his mouth and showed the food to his daughter, I had to look away.
That was
the worst part. Because it wasn't even the zit; it was the food, the mashed up food in his mouth.
No, because the zit obviously wasn't real. That was real.
That was real,
and that was disgusting.
It was definitely one of the more disgusting non-horror movies I've seen in a while.
I would rather watch some horror movies.
Yeah,
some
a slasher film. Honestly, there are parts of that I would prefer, and I don't like slashers.
That's it. That's Osmosis Jones from 2001. I think it's our time.
They need to make a remake because clearly Frank gets his life on track, and they need to show how the body rebuilds itself from the inside out.
I would love a remake just with Uncle Bob now.
He actually dies.
He doesn't have Osmosis Jones.
Weird.
He deserves
Come over here
it.
and give Uncle Bob a hug. It's good to see you too. Like, weird. Why are we doing this in the 90s? Why is there so much hidden pedophilia that's inadvertent at times, but other
But
times
also,
like,
it seems like it's directly in your
Yeah,
face.
it's like it was a joke. It's like they keep writing pedophilia as a joke. And I guess we just accepted it then.
Cabal.
But Andrew, where do you stand? You had the most memory. You celebrated your birthday with this movie.
It doesn't hold up. It doesn't. I honestly think that if I had made, like I said, the real world, the live action, a little more believable, a little bit more less farcical, but you can be stupid and clever, but not stupid and unclever. Does that make sense? There was just nothing logical or creative about that outside world. I enjoyed all the animation from the body, but the outside just killed it for me. The fact that they put that much attention and creativity to the animation and the story within the body, but left the outside untouched, like that pisses me off. And like you could have made it somewhat redeemable if they had tied those loose ends, but they didn't. And it doesn't hold up for me because of that.
So I'm going to elaborate a little bit with you on this. I was torn. I actually thought the majority of the movie held up.
Okay, I want to clarify that I love the animation part. And I shouldn't shit on it so much because I thought the animation was excellent. And I wanted to just stay there. I wanted to stay there and just have the outside just be little blips. I will give it some credence in that regard that the animation was excellent. And I thoroughly enjoyed that.
And that's where I was. I do think, to your point, the outside world sucked. And it was just used as segues to get back into the body. But the animation, the clever writing, too,
it was very clever.
And so I have to say, for me, I wouldn't watch this again. I'm not going to recommend this to everybody. But if you saw it as a kid, I do think it is worth a watch as an adult to see kind of because they don't make movies like this. They don't do the crisscrossing of different genres anymore. And so it's like a relic of its time. And for me, because it classifies as a relic, I'm like, okay, it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but there's enough meat on the bone there where I have to say, yeah, I actually say it holds up.
Yeah, and I don't want to walk back everything I said. My initial reaction was just looking at it from just, is this a good movie?
I get that too. I get that not holding up. Yeah. I can see it being, this one being a very 50-50 for a lot of people.
But I agree with you 100%. There are aspects that you should take in and experience and just see where they are nowadays.
Right. Kyle, where do you stand on this?
It just barely holds up. But again, I think I have more of a luxury than Andrew did because this was such a big event for him as a child. Like, this was something that I think we watched on a home video while we were building Legos or doing something like innocuous in the background. I think we also watched it at school at the end of the year one year. They would always
that's a great movie to watch in school.
They would always do that kind of
Cincinnati
stuff.
education. Right?
That's a Catholic school education, baby. But I do think that it does hold up just for the fact that like we watched it again and I wasn't upset that I watched it. It was disgusting. I don't want to watch that again. I wouldn't I wouldn't watch it while eating food. It's not like a just do anything movie, but like for a kid to watch it, to get like even a tiny baseline on germs are bad. Don't put things in the ground in your body. I think it's good. I would let my kids watch this if I had kids. You know? I like maybe try to gloss over some of the weirder parts. I did think that, like Andrew said, the animation, and I would agree, was very well done, especially for that time.
Just everything with that, the dialogue within the animation too.
I thought it was good. It wasn't. I do think Chris Rock was not funny. And I was waiting for him to be funny.
There wasn't a whole lot of humor in this.
He made me not like that character. Yeah. So I will say I didn't like that. I think the outside world, we've been talking a lot about that. It was they were already over budget. We need to get this done. Let's do this really quickly. Here you go. This is what we're doing. And I think that it shows. And I do think that I would agree with Andrew that it's a little bit more of a missed opportunity than it was. Like, it might have been a hindrance to the movie because Bill Murray shit the bed.
Don't mail it in. Don't mail in aspects of any type.
I mean,
of
Bill
movie.
Murray's done that many a times. He gets too much credit for being this person that's if he's not into a project, he's just going to be there and just
And you could tell I've said
didn't
it
care,
half-assed a million times. So he did half-ass it.
Yes, but I would say like aside from that, you know, it was a good movie, good enough to watch again. I would rather watch this over Titanic. I'd rather watch this over fucking Blank Check. I would rather watch this over Batman and Robin. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I would much rather watch this over those, and that's why it just barely holds up.
Did you guys get the idea that too, like, it was funnier at the beginning and then they just stopped being funny?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where the movie was absurd and then they got too serious and they didn't follow with, and the absurd humor when they did add it, other than just trying to do gross out humor with the zit and everything. But when they did add the humor, like the Rolling Stones comment that we made earlier, like stuff like that, really good. Yeah. But they just didn't follow through.
I wonder if they ran into budget issues and had to cut things short.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I think if they had put that effort, that money in, they still probably would have done about the same or maybe just a little bit better than what they agreed.
They're trying to balance so many things. They're trying to balance the seriousness of the body, a serious villain, which was a good villain.
Great villain.
Chris Rock just popping off like these one-liners that are supposed to relate to the youth of America at that time that just do not hit. And I'm sure like it was a little funnier then when it was topical, but now it's not funny at all. Yeah. But so you have to balance all that, and then Bill Murray's got to have his screen time. You've got to balance the real, like it's just, I think that they had too much on their plate. Now, if this movie was just straight animation, it would have crushed.
It would have. It would have. And that's what disappoints me because the potential was there for it to be a really good movie all around. But
Well, speaking of really good or really bad, do we want to try to take some guesses at some IMDb ratings? Do we want to give our IMDb rating?
Let's do ours, and then I know what it is.
Okay.
But let's do ours.
Kyle, you want to lead us?
I would give this movie, I would say I'd give it like a 6.1.
6.1. Yeah, 6.1. What about you, Andrew?
Happy
birthday,
There
by
are
the way.
parts that really just like bother me and piss me off. Kind of like how the ending of Game of Thrones in the final season was trash. It just doesn't ruin the entire thing, but it does just take away the potential. I gave it a 4.9.
Ooh.
Kind of low, but there were, like I said, the real life stuff just really, really lowered it for me.
I'm closer with Kyle here, but I'm saying 5.8.
Okay.
I think it's just above mediocre. I flirted with giving it a 6.1, but I think the last half of the movie just farted out so hard for me that I was like, 5.
And to be fair, I'm going with my gut reaction after watching it.
Yeah.
I think you've talked me down a bit. I'd probably say like 5.2, but I'm going to stick with my original rating after it was done.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
And the actual IMDb score was 6.3.
6.3. Wow, Kyle was like right on.
I thought it was very high, very generous. But
I thought I was being generous.
I'm telling you, we're going to see this the more we move along, and anyone that's listened to our previous episodes, I'm sorry, I'm going to see that there is nostalgia bump to everything I'm starting to see. Because these IMDb ratings get reevaluated.
Because they come in droves after a decade. People rewatch it.
Yeah.
You know.
That's definitely where that is. Well, you know the lore now. We just reached into your childhood nostalgia. We pulled Osmosis Jones out. Found out it held up, but just barely. So we're going to put that right back in your memory crawl. If you get a chance to catch it. But we warned you. We'll see everyone next time.